Hey guys, Marisa at KitchenTableStamper.com. I'm back from Norway and really excited to be back to the group of doing videos again. I've got a Hey Chuck Stamp-A-Stack card class for you today. Now this is going to be a 3-part series. It'll run on the blog and I'll link all the videos together below if you're watching on YouTube in the description. Monday, June 5th, Tuesday, June 6th, and Wednesday, June 7th, this series will debut and they'll all be linked together if you're watching on the blog. Below the project sheets, there'll be a quick links series where you can follow along each of the cards in this series. Now, our first card is It's Your Birthday, and our Stamp-A-Stack makes 2 of that card. We'll do that one first. And then in video number 2 tomorrow, You Rule the Roost. That's our second design. Funny thing about this Stamp-A-Stack is all the cards are landscape. That almost never happens when I'm designing. Video number 3, You've Got Something to Crow About. Now, the card class is a Wonder Recipe number 8 Stamp-A-Stack, and it's free on the blog here. You can follow along at no charge. If you'd like a class packet to make it easier to follow along with the materials, consumable materials you need to make this class, you can head over to KitchenTableStamper.com/shop. When you're there, on the right hand side there's a little menu to filter by class packets, and you'll be able to see if there are Hey Chuck Stamp-A-Stack packets still available. And we'll also show you any other packets that we have to go with our classes. So our packet includes 2 yards of the denim ribbon, 40 pieces of the rustic metallic dots, a quarter package, so you'll have plenty of leftover designer series paper to play, of the Day on the Farm designer series paper. You get 2 6x6 pieces of each design. And your card kits. You'll have 8 cards in this class, so you have 8 kits. Your card bases are scored for you. All your pieces are in an envelope for easy mailing. 8 card kits. We do the die cutting and punching. That is not from the featured bundle, the Hey Chuck bundle, for you. You've got your white cardstock to do all your stamping. And then your die cutting from the Hey Chuck bundle, you have cardstock pieces to do that die cutting. So crushed curry, basic black, and basic gray. So that's what their card kits include. Sometimes they include a little bonus, and they always include a handmade thank you card. For as long as I can physically do it, you'll always get a handmade thank you card with your class packets. Now that purchase is optional. Let's get on to the class here. We're featuring the Hey Chuck bundle from Stampin' Up. It is an 11-piece cling stamp set. There's a die set. I promise you it comes with more than one die. We're just using them all in this class. The Hey Chuck dies can be bundled with Hey Chuck, and you can save 10%. Our cards are Sahara Sand, and we have got 8.5 by 5.5 inch card bases for our first design, and we are going to emboss all of the card fronts using your choice of embossing folders. I'm using the Timber 3D folder. So let's go ahead, and we're going to, because we're doing a Stamp-A-Stack, we're going to emboss all 8 card bases. If you don't like to emboss the entire card front edge to edge like this, if you don't like to run your folder through that way, you can take a Sahara Sand, like a 4 by 5 1/4 piece, and emboss that and glue it on to make a card front. I love the look of the embossing edge to edge, but when you do this kind of a technique, you want to use caution, because we're going to run this folder through and we want to make sure it comes out the other end of the machine in as good of condition as it went into the machine. So our card base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. We're just going to fold that. It's already scored for you, but we want to make it a little bit more obvious where the fold is. And we're going to emboss this so that the wood grain runs vertically. Since all of our cards are landscape cards, you can use the line on the Stampin' Up logo to kind of make sure, and then that it's that you're making straight pattern, and then you can also use the fold at the top of the card. Now this is the fold on your folder, and we are going to pop this in so that the fold is across the side of the machine here. And this is where I say you have to use caution. So you want to make sure that you line up this folder so that it is really lined up nicely, especially this fold on the folder to the edge of the platform. And then you want to make sure that the fold clears the side of the machine. All right, you don't want this fold to drag against the side of the machine. You'll split your folder, you'll cut it into two pieces and render it useless. So please use caution if you're going to do this method. Now we're going to pop 4 on top of that because we've got a 3D embossing folder. And before we crank, again, we're going to make sure everything is squared up nicely and that it's going to clear the machine on this fold edge, and on the bottom edge, when we've got that, we can push it in to the machine to engage the handle. And we're going to crank, watching to make sure that our folder never gets close to the edge of the embossing machine. Okay, so once you've got that for all of your 8 cards, you'll be well on your way to stamping a stack. All right, now let's do our designer series paper. With the Stampin' Stack classes, we do batch work, and so all of our card bases are now embossed. We're going to grab our Wonder Recipe number 8 cutting diagram, and this is available on the blog. Just follow where it says project details, and then under the embedded video on the blog, you'll find a link for the project sheet, and you'll find a link for the Wonder Recipe number 8 printable cutting diagram. We're going to cut 3 patterns. You can do your choice. You can make my samples exactly, or you have all 6 double-sided designs. Pick any ones you want. You can do, I did the veggies, you could do the stripes. Then there's the balmy blue floral. I don't know that this one would work, but isn't that pretty paper? Or the chicken wire. On the back of the chicken wire is the little geese and ducks, so that would work great together. There's the red barns. I really like those, but I used the grassy hills and the plaid, and those are the reverse sides. So those are the 3 I used. Use whichever ones you like. You get the quarter pack, 2 of each 6x6 designer series paper sheets, and this is extra for you to keep going, make more cards. All right, we're going to grab a paper trimmer and cut this up. Now we've got 2 sheets where the direction doesn't really matter, so we're going to do those together. You can always do 2 sheets of designer series paper with a Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer. It's a nice part. And we are going to cut 4 1/4, and then we're going to cut 2-inch slices. So 2 and 2. And I just pop them right in the grid there until we need them. And whoop, come on, veggies. And there's our veggies. Now we've got a piece that's 1 3/4 remaining, and we're going to take the 1 3/4 and cut it at 3 1/4. And that is Wonder Recipe number 8. Now we have 5 pieces from each sheet. You can mix and match the parts if you haven't done Wonder Recipes before. Now the pattern is directional on the hills, and if you look closely at my cards, you can see that the hills do run horizontal across the 4 1/4 by 2-inch pieces. So that's how we want to orient our paper on the trimmer. So we're going to start with the 4 1/4, just like we did before, and cut it into 3 4 1/4 by 2-inch pieces. We'll pop it right on the grid. There they are, and then this one, same treatment. We'll cut that not quite in half, but we'll cut it 3 1/4. And there are our rectangle pieces. Now, this is a modified Wonder Recipe number 8. So again, if you look at the samples here, you can see that we've got a 2-inch piece by 4 1/4 for our garden green, but we've got smaller strips of the plaid for these two designs. We'll use the same but reversed, the 2-inch and then the 1-inch, the 1-inch and then the 2-inch, you see? So we got to modify this, and we're going to cut those plaid pieces in half. So you can do 2 at a time. And let's just pop these in on the 2-inch side and divide them in half. Two for you, 2 for you, and one more time. And 2 for you. All right, let's take the pieces that we need for our first design. Get our sample back in here, and that is, for the first design, we need these vertical orientation pieces, these 1 3/4 by 3 and 1 3/4 by 2 3/4 pieces. We're going to take this little grid just like it is and set it aside for our next cards. Now you'll see what I did here was I alternated long and short pieces. So we've got the longer, shorter, longer layout. And then, and of course, with this Wonder recipe, you could use those pieces this way, or you could use them this way. You could mix them and match them in different ways if you like. All right, then for the other one, shorter, longer, shorter. Let's go ahead and glue down our designer series paper pieces. And I'm going to use some liquid glue here. I did the longer, shorter, longer pattern so that the shorter center one went over the 2 longer, right and left, and then I did it opposite for this one. I just felt like it balanced the patterns because this big chunk of red plaid on the longer piece kind of dominated, but it didn't muscle the other patterns as much when it was a small piece. So just a little food for thoughts, you know, something to the thought process behind how I laid them out. So this one I went from the center and then built out with the smaller pieces, and that kind of let the smaller pieces have a bit more of the focus. We're going to layer up some layers on here, so it doesn't matter too much. It's just the details that I like to share. All right, now we're going to go to our kits, and let's get the sample in there and look at what's inside again. So in your kit, you're going to find for each of these cards your die cutting from the basic shapes that we did for you. Let me show you what we've got here. We have a circle. This is a 2 5/8 inch circle, and I had a bunch of them from Basic White left. So this is cut with the layering circles dies. This is a retired dies. So if you're looking for a substitute, you're looking for something that's 2 5/8. We cut that from Basic White for you. And then we did some real magic here, and I demonstrated this on some Facebook Live and Hey Chuck videos. I'll try to remember to link them below in the description so you can see. I love these irregular hexagons for like backgrounds. So we took this irregular hexagon, this is the Nested Essentials dies, and we cut using the second smallest hexagon from Garden Green. Then once we had the second smallest hexagon cut, we went ahead and cut it in half for you using this torn edge die. Isn't this die so cool? We just lined that up on there. Let's see, how do we do that? And then cut the irregular hexagon right in half, making the two ground pieces that we needed for our scene from one hexagon die. Now we did this for you because these are both brand new die sets. The Nested Essentials, I haven't even put the sizes and the label on the die chart yet. They just came out in the annual catalog. And then the Torn Edge die is from Gorgeously Made, and this is another brand new die set that just came out in the annual catalog. It includes the dies that we're using in this class, so the Torn Edge and the Notebook Edge. This Something to Crow About sample has the Notebook Edge, and then it also includes another die that we used in this class, the You Rule the Roost sentiment banner. Here looks almost like torn tape. That die is also included in this set, plus these two amazing botanicals. All right, so those are the dies that I used to make this cool ground. Now we also needed a place to put our sentiment, so we decided that the cloud would be a really good place for a sentiment, fits the scene. So that's our little stitch cloud, and we cut that one for you using the Give It a Whirl dies. I have never made a Viewmaster card, but I have gotten my money's worth in the stars, hearts, clouds, banners, this scallopy circle, just the like wingman dies in this Give It a Whirl have been so useful to me. So that's where those clouds came from. There's a set of 3 clouds in that die set. All right, we're gonna do our background here, and I recommend that you do all your backgrounds at one time. In each video, I'm going to demonstrate the background one time, so that no matter where you come in the series, you're going to see it. But I do recommend that you do all of your 8 backgrounds at one time. I've got my circle here and some small grid paper. Got Pool Party ink, a blending brush, and I've also got this awesome background text. Now the background text is from Gorgeously Made. Gorgeously Made can be bundled with the Gorgeously Made dies. You can save 10%, and this background is the one that we're using. All right, we're gonna do our background, and there's a technique here, and it's really important. It's kind of obnoxious, but it's, if you've ever done a blending brush and you ink up and then you go to your project and you start to blend, and then there's a spot that looks like somebody put their thumb in the ink and then made a thumbprint on your project, this is the technique. And then you're gonna, it's gonna help you not to get those harsh splotches that look like thumbprints. You're gonna ink your brush by tapping on the ink pad. You're going to tap somewhat forcefully, but hold at the end of the handle. All right, so tap. That picks up the ink on the brush, and then you're going to tap on your scratch paper, which is going to eliminate that hard spot, and then gently, again holding lower on the handle, start to blend in a circular motion. Now you're going to have to re-ink, tap off, and repeat. And this is a building process. There's no shortcutting this. If you try to shortcut this, that's when you're going to get those big splotches that look like somebody put a thumbprint in the middle of your project. So you might have to do this 4 times, you might have to do this 8 times, depending on how inky your pad is. But you just want to see that it builds, and you're getting that pool party sky background deeper and deeper and deeper every time you do it, till you get it the way you want it to look. And my ink pad is not very fresh from the re-inking. In fact, it's a little bit, probably could use a little ink, so I'm gonna have to do this more times than you might do it if you have a fresh ink pad that gets a little bit less use. All right, so we're getting to that place. Now I'm going to use my brush, and I'm going to lean it back. I'm going to tip it forward. I'm going to lean it in and tilt it out, and that's going to help remove some of the ink from the brush, because before you put this away, you want to swirl the ink off on some scratch paper. And so if you kind of rotate your brush, get the ink on the project, That's where you want to be. Now we're going to stamp over with our text. We're going to stamp one kind of low to the left, one a little bit higher to the right, and there is our background. While you've got the ink and the brush, keep going. Do all 8 backgrounds using this similar technique. All right, let's slide this aside. All right, our background is done. Let's do our stamping. We've got some white cardstock in your kit. We need 2 chickens and 2 cakes for demonstration purposes. I'm going to do 1. My parts for the second one are already ready already. So let's go ahead and stamp our little skinny side eye rooster. I love that. If you know chickens, you know the side eye. This guy I think could be my favorite. We're gonna ink him up. 2 of these and 2 birthday cakes. All right, so we're going to start with our Granny Apple Green and Shaded Spruce combo. I have dark Granny Apple Green and light Shaded Spruce. We're using garden green cardstock. The designer series paper is loaded with garden green, but there is no garden green Stampin' Blend. So the way that I handle that is by blending Granny Apple Green and Shaded Spruce, and we get a really cute grass-topped chicken birthday cake with a Granny Apple Green Shaded Spruce to make garden green. Now I've got pecan pie, and we're going to do our cake. So it looks like dirt and grass. That was intentional. I thought that was perfect for a chicken birthday cake. A little bit of light pecan pie. And swipe down the side. And our chicken's body is light pecan pie. Then we'll add a little bit of shadow at the bottom of the wing, kind of follow the dots that the artist put in for the feathers, and I'm going to just dot to blend. Chicken feathers are not a smooth, solid color. So cute. I love this guy. All right, next up, I've got cherry cobbler. And I am going to make a cherry cobbler candle. You can make your birthday cakes with whatever color candle you want. I like cherry cobbler, good contrast to the garden green we created. And then we're gonna do his wattle and this crazy mop of what could be feathers or maybe look like the comb. I just love this guy. Little bit of dark cherry cobbler and then just dab to blend. Cute. Now something that I do when I'm doing a Stamp-A-Stack, we're going to get pebbled path now. When I open up the pebbled path marker, well, you noticed when I opened up the cherry cobbler marker, I did the cherry cobbler on both items. When I do a Stamp-A-Stack, I will stamp all the images I need for all the cards. And then when I open up the pebbled path markers, I will do the pebbled path coloring on every image. So you open the pebbled path markers one time, you do all your coloring, you close them up, and you move on to the next color group. And it saves the opening and closing the markers, which sometimes can be, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Exhausting. That might be a little extreme, but it's tiring to keep picking up and putting down markers and opening these caps. They're vacuum sealed to keep your alcohol markers from drying out, and they're not fun to open and close sometimes. So you open the pebbled path once, you color everything you need for every image in pebbled path, and then you move on to smoky slate, and you do the same thing. You color every smoky slate item that you need. We're going to do the eyelids in dark. Got a little color lifter here too. So we're going to do the chicken's neck and head. We're going to add a little shadow with light smoky slate and then blend it out to white on the edges. So it just looks like maybe he's got white feathers, but we didn't forget to color. All right, now we're done with smoky slate, and we'll grab Daffodil Delight. And I'm just using dark Daffodil Delight. We're going to do the beak and the feet. Sometimes you'll forget, oh look, his little drumsticks need some pumpkin pie feathers, so I'll have to pick my pumpkin pie markers back up again, but I really saved a lot of capping and recapping and picking up and putting down by doing this method. All right, let's go ahead and die cut our chickens, and we're going to die cut the little sun and weather vane. To get the most on each pass through the machine, what I'm going to do is take the pieces from the kit, and I'm going to take the dies, and then I'm just going to trim off the size that I need to get through the machine. But what you should do is cut all your weather vanes. So you cut one this way, cut one this way, cut one this way, and get all the weather vanes out of that piece at one time. And while you're doing that, you can run through something else on the side. Just do all of your suns, all your weather vanes for all your projects at one time, and that'll save you a lot of time. You'll make more cards in less amount of time if you do them that way. But for demonstration purposes, I have to do it a little bit differently. So I'm gonna go, for this one, we'll go like this. So we can do the other weather vane the other way, this way. See? All right. And this guy I'm gonna cut a little closer too, because then I can get all of them out in one pass. But what you might do is stamp your whole sheet of everything, and then you can run this 5.5 by 8.5 inch with all the different chicken dies at one time. So you can be doing one cake, one of the side-eye chicken, one of the chicken in shorts, one of the fence, one of the screaming chicken, and one of the skateboard. In every pass, you can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 images cut if you just stamp the whole sheet and then die cut them all at once. So just some tips I like to give you along the way if you are using the packet, or even if you're not using the packet and you're cutting your own. All right, got my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and we got to change it from embossing to cutting. So I've got 1 and 2, 3. Now we're going to lay out as much as we need for our die cutting here. And then this little guys. There's our die cut. Let's put the parts aside for just a minute here. All right, so we still need our It's Your Birthday. I've got my little cloud cut out and some Memento Tuxedo black ink. It's Your Birthday. So cute. I love that cloud for the sentiment. It fits the scenery just perfect. We're building kind of a unique scenery with the ground and the hexagon and the cloud, and then the inked background for the sky. All right, let's adhere the backgrounds. All right, these are going to be off to the right, and make sure you put them the right way. You used a text background if you used the same one that I did, and you don't want your text to read upside down, although it doesn't really read, but there are letters that can be picked out. Now we've got some denim ribbon in your packet, and you're gonna need about 3 inches of denim ribbon. And I like some tear and tape adhesive for this. So I'm using the scrap that's left from doing my first set, but you've got 2 yards, and you want to make a little loop. So we're going to add some tear and tape adhesive on the end, and then peel, fold the ribbon, and then you can fold the tear and tape. And we're going to adhere that to our little ground piece, leaving a cute little loop. Do that for our other copy of the card too. All right, love it. Let's get those glued on. Keep the adhesive low, the liquid adhesive low, because we're going to slide the little sun underneath to make a sunrise. Next up is just that. I like to take the sun and put a generous amount on the body, and then just swipe along the rays, and then grab my weather vane and drag the weather vane through the glue on the back of the sun. That way you don't have a whole bunch of glue on the back of that tiny little bit oozing out. Tuck the sun underneath where you left yourself a little space, then tuck the weather vane underneath the ground like that. You can grab your sentiment, slide that underneath the weather vane if necessary to complete the scene, and then burnish everything down. We've got our chicken here and dimensionals on the back. We're going to peel and stick, making our scene. Same with our cake. I've got some dimensionals on the cake. Peel and stick, making our scene. And the last touch here is our rustic metallic dots. You've got 40 pieces. If you get the kit, we're going to embellish with the rustic metallic dots. Now I used 5 on each of the cards, and if you think that might be too many, you can just use 3, but I'm doing a kind of a triangle placement up here of 2 small and 1 large, and then 1 large, 1 small, kind of, so it kind of flows across the card at a diagonal. And there it is. There is card number 1 in the Hey Chuck Stamp-A-Stack. It's your birthday. I'll see you in video number 2, where we'll do You Rule the Roost. And in video number 3, something to crow about. If you've got any questions about the Stamp-A-Stack, email Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com. To see if there are optional class packets while supplies last, you can buzz over to kitchentablestamper.com/shop. To shop for Stampin' Up! Products 24/7, buzz over to marisaalvarez.stampinup.net and click shop. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.